I will be the first to admit that we don't know much about what's occurred. All we can depend on is what the investigators are telling us. But I tell you what I find disconcerting. I find disconcerting that a couple of hours or so after the incident, that Kash Patel, the FBI director, puts out a message with, or a photo with the bullets that are saying anti-ICE, and scratched in what looks like a marker saying anti-ICE. I find it suspect that immediately in that first news conference, the FBI, the federal agent, comes out and immediately wants to ascertain that this person committing this crime is sort of, maybe from the left. They are so anxious to put the murder of Charlie Kirk, this particular shooting, and all these other shootings that we've been having, which we know generally from the right and wide. These are the folks who mostly are armed up and filled with guns. But further, that made it disconcerting to me was how they described the shooter. On the MSNBC just a few minutes ago, this is the picture, or this is the type of way the host asked about the individual. And look how they describe this individual. I'll take it on the other side.
More about the suspect and what you've learned from there in Dallas.
Yeah, let's start with how this played out. He was on a building not far from the ICE facility, an elevated position where he shot into the Sally Port, the area where detainees are moved from a van into the facility, then moved out and taken to a detention center. This was not a detention center. They don't keep people in this facility, but instead it is a field office where they not only work people through that they've just arrested, but that they have people daily coming in for routine meetings. So that's where this took place. As for the suspect, we have learned a bit more in the last 30 to 45 minutes. Joshua John, a 29-year-old who was born here in Texas. We know politically he was registered as an independent. The last time he voted was in 2024. And in 2016, he was convicted, pled guilty to a felony charge of marijuana delivery. So he does have a criminal record. We know that both federal agents and local law enforcement continue to look into his background as well. But again, this happened at a field office. We talked with a woman whose husband was inside at the time. She was in a car with her 9-year-old son. They dove under the vehicle when they said they heard at least 20 shots ring out. Dallas police coming, grabbing them, rushing them into the facility until things calmed down. Still a lot unfolding here right now, Katie, but that's the very latest.
Now, Katie Turr simply said, tell us more about this guy. And one of the things that they said is this guy is Texas born. He's a resident of Texas, and he is a registered independent. For the rest of the country, that may sound okay. It's like, okay, so we don't exactly know what he is. Well, guess what? In Texas, you don't register with parties. So you don't know if a person is independent, Republican, or Democrat. The closest you could come to getting a feel for what they are is whether they vote in a Republican primary or a Democratic primary. But what a whole lot of Texans have learned to do is if they want to get a bad candidate elected in the Democratic Party, you'll have a lot of Republicans vote in the Democratic Party and vice versa. So you don't know based on, you don't have any way to determine in Texas if somebody is Republican or Democratic. You can simply infer by looking at their actions, looking at their Facebook, looking at what they talk about, listening to what they say. That's the only way you know if a person is a Republican or Democrat in Texas. So once I saw that heading that says registered independent, I knew they were full of it, because in Texas, you don't register as an independent, Democrat, or Republican. So that makes everything that they're talking about this guy suspect. And do you notice something else there? You notice how come that they didn't put style of weapon? You notice they didn't put specifically in this report also race? Because we know there is a certain characteristic of these killers that are out there. They know there's a certain characteristic. And what I think they're trying to do is create a narrative. They're trying to create a narrative to somehow bring an attack on anybody on the left. Let's be clear. Jimmy Kimmel got kicked off for calling the Kirk. They're calling the guy who killed Kirk a MAGA guy. I don't see why anybody should apologize for him saying that, or anybody should say any different, because there's nothing about the killer of Charlie Kirk who says he's anything other than MAGA, and there's nothing about this current killer today, I think his name is John. I don't remember what his name is. But there's nothing about him that gives you an idea his party affiliation. So right now, they're trying to create a narrative on people they quite don't know. But if we are to infer, we know that the people that are gunned up, we know that the people that commit this kind of crime are generally folks on the right. It's not to say that somebody who associates with the left wouldn't do that. But I'm saying, if you had to make a bet, 75% of the times you'd be right if you said it came from the right. All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate or bought politicians' wants as opposed to the people's needs for real information to make their lives better. Independent media is the only solution to inform truthfully and factually. Why? Because our loyalties are to you, the ones who fund us with small dollar contributions and subscriptions. Please consider supporting our independent media platforms by subscribing to our Egberto Off the Record newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's an investment that pays incalculable dividends.